Hello and welcome to my channel. There are an awful lot of people, men particularly, going to the Philippines and looking for a traditional woman to marry. But there are some very strange laws in the Philippines that you need to understand. And the reason that a lot of guys want a prenup is not the first thing that comes to your mind is you think, well, he's greedy, he's in love with his money, blah, blah, blah. If you marry a village girl especially, and her parents and brothers and sisters are all poor, the law requires you hear what I said? Requires your Filipina to pay support, to pay something that the law says is necessary, like an education, and for the brothers and sisters even. So, and medical and everything for the parents. So if you're Filipina, the only asset she has is being married to you, and the law considers that your assets are mutual because you're married, they're marital assets, then you're on the hook. That's all there is to it. So the thing is, I mean, if you want to look up Philippine Family Code, you want to look at section, say, 194, 195, and those kind of go into a little more detail about just exactly what sorts of things the law requires you to have to pay for. Now, it's not going to have to pay for, a vacation or something like that. Your in-laws want to go to Vegas for the weekend, or you don't have to pay for that kind of stuff. But if it's a medical necessity, or if they need food or something like that, yeah. And look, the unemployment rate in the Philippines is really high, even for people with a college education. So it's necessary, according to the Philippine government. So what you think about it really don't make any difference. So that's why you want to get a prenup. Now, the problem most people have is they go, an American guy will go and he'll get an attorney and he'll get the idea and he'll get everything explained to him. And then he'll say, well, can't you explain that to my wife? Well, no, the attorney can't do that because the attorney's legal responsibility is to protect you and your interests. She has to have her own attorney that is responsible to protect her and her interests. So you'd have to get her own attorney, which, not that expensive in the Philippines like it is in the U.S. You're not going to be paying $200, $300 an hour like you would in the U.S. You can get a good attorney in the Philippines for $10, $15 an hour. So anyway, you can design a prenup any way you want to. I mean, it's your document, and you can have it in there so that everything is half hers and half yours, except in the case of her having to pay support for her family. You can write it up that way, and that's perfectly okay because it's your document. You can make it any way you want to, and the Philippine court will recognize it, that's your desire, that's your wish, and as long as you and your Filipina agree on it, it doesn't make any difference what it says. So they're going to be okay with it, but that's what you want to do. If she's got 5 brothers and 3 sisters and they're all poor, guess what? You're going to be poor too. They can literally sue you to pay for their college and everything else. And if they want to go to college and just fart around and, get poor grades and just mess up, you may end up having to pay for college 2 or 3 times for the same guy. So that's what you need to explain all this to your Filipina. Show her what the family code says, and maybe get her own attorney to explain things to her. And the 3 things you need to remember before you marry a Filipina, before you get involved with a Filipina to the point where you're thinking about marriage, is number 1, get a CENIMAR, a certificate of no marriage, which means she's free to marry you. Because if she's already married, then she's still married. I don't care if it's 20 years ago and they've been separated for 20 years. It don't make any difference. You're still married. And he can still come sue you. He can still come have you arrested. He can still come shoot you and get away with it. So you want that certificate of no marriage. And the other two things you remember is get a prenup, and always, for God's sake, get a prenup.